Yo, what's up guys, Toby from the MasterBok Show, and I hope you're having an amazing day. Ever wondered how powerful a dedicated single class can be? With all the double classing, triple classing shenanigans that we've been doing lately, people may have the misconception that in order for you to be really powerful, you need to multi-class. Well, it seems that you've been mistaken, my friend. Today we are building one of the most powerful mages in Baldur's Gate 3. A character that is solely focused on pure destruction and awesomeness that is borderline almost unfair. I've been waiting to showcase this build for quite some time now, and now it's finally here. I present to you the Sorcerer in my version of the Fire Mage. Without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, here we are now guys in a character creation screen. This is where we will be building the foundation of our Fire Mage for today. We are eyeing on two races that are interesting for the build, starting with the Half-Elf and the Dragonborn. The Dragonborn just gives us the racial speed of 9 meters, but the most interesting thing for the Dragonborn, it gives resistances to whatever color we are focused on. For our Fire Mage, we are focusing more of a fire color. That means that around red, brass, and gold are the most effective color for us to select. The 3 colors unlock the subrace feature Draconic Ancestry, which will give us resistances to fire damage, as well as an action Fire Breath, which will deal 2 to 12 fire damage in a cone of fire. But for me, I highly advise we go with the Half-Elf, because aside from giving us the base racial speed of 9 meters, it will give us Dark Vision and Fey Ancestry, which will grant advantages in saving throws from Charmed and Sleep. But the most interesting thing here is the Civil Militia, which will grant us weapon proficiencies in Spear, Pikes, Halberd, and Glaives, as well as an armor proficiency for Light Armor and Shield. For the subrace, I highly advise you go with the High Half-Elf, which will grant us some cantrips of Firebolt included. For the classes, we are eyeing on the most powerful class in the game, which is the Sorcerer. We will be focusing on the Sorcerer throughout our early games up to the late game, which means we will be focusing on a single class for this build. The Sorcerer is really powerful. Aside from giving us proficiencies with daggers, quarterstaff, and crossbows, this class has the most devastating meta magic or subclasses that we can unlock for any sort of spellcaster build. For the cantrips, we're just selecting any light source cantrip because we are using light sources later on for this build, which is light, dancing light, and depending on your preference, you can get anything that you want. For the spells, I highly advise you get Chromatic Orb. This will give us the chance to dish out some fire damages in the early games, and the most important spell for any spellcaster, which is the Shield. For the subclass, we're eyeing on the Draconic Bloodline. This will give us some Draconic Resiliences, it will give us tankiness, but the most important thing is the Dragon Ancestry. We can select any ancestry pertaining to any fire ancestry that I mentioned earlier. You can select either brass, gold, or red. For me, I'll just select whatever spell that they have. The brass gives you sleep, the gold gives you disguise self, and the red gives you flaming hands or burning hands, because burning hands is the most useful of the 3. For the deity, I'll just go with Tiamat. For the backgrounds, there are 2 backgrounds for the build that are interesting, starting with the noble, which will give us skills in history and persuasion, and the soldier, which will give us proficiencies in athletics and intimidation. The interesting thing here is the noble, because the persuasion check is really useful. And finally, for the abilities, starting with the dexterity, constitution, and charisma. Charisma is the most important ability here because we are more of a pure sorcerer, so we need as much charisma as we can get. That will give us proficiencies in our saving throws in charisma, as well as the amount of damage that we can deal later on. For the dexterity, this is more of an AC sort of thing in our initiative. This is the second priority for us. And finally, for constitution, so we can get more constitution checks and physical endurance in the mix. After character creation, we are now moving into level 2 of our Sorcerer. We just unlock a few class features for our level 1 spells, as well as our first set of sorcery points. Actions like create sorcery points that sacrifices spell slots, and create spell slot that sacrifices sorcery points to make additional spell slot. And for this level, we just unlock our meta magic, which we will focus just into distance and to twin spell. For the spells, depending on your preference, you can get any spell that you want. I'll just go with Featherfall or maybe Enhanced Sleep. Level 3 of our Sorcerer, we just unlock a few class features again and our second set of sorcery point. For this level, we just unlock our class passive, which is one of the most important meta magic that we can, is the Quicken spell. This will grant spells that cost an action, cost a bonus action instead. So it is a free spell usage for just the cost of 3 sorcery points. For the spells, we just unlock the fundamental spell that we will be using throughout our playthrough, which is Scorching Ray. For this level, I highly advise you replace maybe Chromatic Orb because we won't be using that anymore for this level, and we will be replacing that into more of a useful spell, which is a level 2 Misty Step. Coming into level 4 of our Sorcerer, we just unlock a few class features. For this level, we are eyeing on our feat. For the feat, we are focusing more in the Magic Initiate Warlock that will grant us 2 cantrip and a level 1 spell from the Warlock list. For the cantrips, you can get anything that you want. I advise you get Eldritch Blast and maybe a Blade Ward. The most important thing that we need for the spell is the Hex. It deals an additional 1 to 6 damage for every spell that we use, and it also gives disadvantages to the ability that we choose. That means that whenever we use Scorching Ray that has 3 rays, that's gonna be dealing an additional 1 to 6 necrotic damage per ray. So it's gonna start to go crazy from here. For the spells, you can get anything that you want. I highly advise you get Mirror Image for more utility. Level 5 of our Sorcerer, we just unlock another set of class feature. This is more of a level 3 spell slot and another sorcery point. For the spells, you can get any spells that you want here depending on your preference, but for me, I'll be focusing more on haste. Level 6, we just unlock another set of class feature, but the most important thing here is our subclass feature, which is whenever we cast a spell that deals a damage type associated with our draconic ancestry, we add our charisma modifier to the damage, as well as elemental affinity that's going to be giving us an additional resistance. For the spells, we will be getting Fireball for this level. Level 7, we are unlocking a new class feature and a set of sorcery points. We also gained a spell for this level, and we are getting the spell Firewall. Level 8 of our Sorcerer, we just unlock a new class feature, but the most important thing for the level is the feat. For the feat, we are eyeing on the Elemental Adept. Elemental Adept will ignore any resistance for that certain spell that we are using. We are more of a fire mage, so we need the Elemental Adept Fire. That's gonna give us the passive feature. Spell slots cannot be ignored using fire damage. In addition, when we deal fire damage with a spell, we cannot roll a 1. For the spells, depending on your preference, you can get anything that you want. Level 9 of our Sorcerer, we just unlock a set of class features. For the spells, I highly advise you get Telekinesis because it's really fun to lift people up and throw them into the firewall. Coming into level 10 of our Sorcerer, we just unlock a new class feature, cantrips, and a few class passives. We're just going to be starting with the cantrip. You can get whatever cantrip that you want. For me, I'll just select maybe a Mage Hand. For the spells, I'll be selecting Blight. And the class passive, we will be selecting another class passive that you want. You can just get maybe an extended or maybe a heightened depending on your preference. But for me, I'll just go for extended. Level 11, we just unlock another set of class feature and a really cool action for this level, which is the Fly. This is going to be giving us maximum mobility for our Fire Mage. For the spells, you can get whatever you want. For me, I'll just go maybe Disintegrate. And finally, level 12 of our Sorcerer. We just unlock our final feat for the character, and we are eyeing on the ability improvement. Depending on your preference, you can set the charisma to 18 or just pump up everything to charisma. Alright guys, and I'm going to be showing you the item setup for the build. I will be showcasing 2 builds for you guys today, starting with the Act 1 and the Act 2 build, which is the early game, and the Act 3 build for the late game. And don't forget guys, in the description down below, you can actually see where are the links for the locations and how to easily access these items that I mentioned today. First up is the Thermo Arcanic Gloves, which will give us the passive Arcane Ashes. Whenever we deal fire damage, we gain 2 turns of heat. Heat is a really interesting condition because it will engulf us in flame, dealing fire damage to us, but we will get heat conversions. Heat conversions is where it's at. It's a toggleable passive. We will consume heat to fuel firepower or our fire spell. Whenever we deal another fire spell or whenever we cast a spell of fire, we get an additional fire damage for every turn of heat remaining. What's crazy about this is each single Scorch Ray will deal an additional 1 fire damage thanks to the heat conversions. Next up is the Cruscation Ring. That's going to give us the passive Arcane Radiance. When the wearer deals spell damage while illuminated by a light source, they will inflict radiant orb upon target for 2 turns. Radiating orb is a condition. It affects the enemy that has it. It gives -1 to their attack rolls per turn remaining. It also sheds the light in the area. That's gonna go really well in synergy with our Callous Glow Ring. The Callous Glow Ring will give us the passive Callous Glow. The wearers will deal an additional 2 damage against enemies that are illuminated. So whenever the enemy has a radiating orb, we deal an additional 2 damage to them. Now I'm going to be showing you guys an early setup for the build whenever we want to deal damage. We'll use light to get some light source, but there are always chances for you to get any sort of light source in the game. This is the easiest way to get a light source. This will activate a Coruscation Ring, which will deal radiating orb to our enemy whenever we attack them. For this example, I'll be using maybe Scorching Ray level 3 just for us to deal some damage with Lizelle. So as you see here, we have 6 stacks of heat condition. That's going to deal 1 to 4 flame damage to us, but it will give us heat conversion, which will add 1 fire damage for every Scorching Ray that we deal out. As well as we just inflicted Radiating Orb. Lizelle has Radiating Orb. It will grant -1 to her attack rolls, and it also sheds a bright light in her area. So as you see, there is a light here. And now we will be using another Scorching Ray again, plus heat conversion. So heat conversions plus Scorching Ray, and we will try to dish out the maximum amount of damage that we can using this. So as you see, Lizelle just got obliterated and we just dealt additional radiant damage. Now it's time for us to talk about the endgame build, so which is going to be Act 3. There are a few items that we need for the build to make it really powerful. Starting off with the Birthright, this is really easy to get, guys, starting from Act 3 on the lower city. That's going to be giving you an additional +2 to your charisma. It's going to go really well with the reward from Auntie Ethel from Act 1. That's going to be giving you an additional +1 your charisma, so you can pump your charisma up to 22. Next up is the Robe of the Weave. It will grant you Arcane Enchantment. Third is the Spellcroc's Amulet. It's not actually a Act 3 sort of item. You can get this around late Act 2, but it's somewhat near Act 3 already, so I'll just include it here. It will give us an additional spell slot restoration. That's gonna give us the chance to restore a spell slot whenever we can. And finally, the legendary weapon Marco Heshkir. Sorry if I murdered the name. It's gonna give you the passive Arcane Battery. Arcane Battery basically gives you a free spell slot of your choosing. And the best thing here is the Kreshka's Favor. It's a level 4 invocation spell that will grant you additional elemental proficiencies in a selected element of your choosing. And not to mention the amazing spells that you unlock using the Kreshka's Favor. Alright guys, I'm now going to be showing you some active gameplay and how we properly utilize our Fire Mage. So after we go for a long rest, we need to activate our Kreshka's Favor for us to be imbued with elemental energy. We will be selecting from an array of elemental energies that we need, but we are eyeing on the Flame of Wrath. Flame of Wrath will give us an additional flame resistance. In addition to that, all of our fire spells will deal equal to our proficiency bonus. So we're just going to be using Flame of Wrath. Put it to ourselves. On turn 1 or whenever we can, we always open up with a Hex. Hex again will deal an additional 1 to 6 necrotic damage for every single spell that we can. We're just going to be selecting from an array of hexes that you want. For today's example, I'll just use the Hex of Charisma to one opponent. So I'll be using it to this fist here. As you see guys, we just started a battle with our Fire Mage. So we're just going to be opening up with our Scorching Ray. This is the bread and butter spell that we'll be using for our playthrough with our Fire Mage. And we are selecting level 5 spell slot. For this reason is that we will need to activate our Thermo Arcanic Gloves for us to gain passive of heat. So I'm just going to be showing you guys how powerful it is single target, and I'll be dishing out all of the rays to this opponent that has the Hex status. As you can see, we just properly obliterated that opponent in just single turn. And if you guys notice, we just got the heat condition here. That's going to be damaging us from 1 to 4 per turn. We just acquired the toggleable passive feature, which is the heat conversion. We can actually convert our heat to additional fire damage. So it will give us an additional 1 fire damage every single Scorching Ray that we can. So we can actually use that in tandem with our Quicken spell. Using this will grant us bonus action instead of our main action. So we'll use our quicken spell and activate heat conversions for us to deal additional +1 damage to the target. So we're just going to be using the max scorching ray. So we're just going to be dishing out damage here, some damage here, a few damage here. As you see here, guys, we just almost destroyed every single opponent that we hit with that. This fire mage is so practically OP, it's unfair. So we're just going to be moving anywhere and reposition so that we won't get hit by any opponents. End of our turn, we're just going to be letting them attack us. With this here, we can use our shield and to mitigate any damage that they want to dish out. Miss. It's another miss with our high AC. It's another miss. And again, another miss. Now we're going to be attacking with our fire mage again. So we're going to be starting off always using our heat conversion to convert all of that damage to our opponent. And we are now using our arcane battery for this turn. So arcane battery will let us use any spell slot that we want for free until long rest. So we're going to be using the max, which is scorching ray level 6, and obliterate this opponents right in front of us. Using here, 2 for you, maybe 3. I can't attack anybody here, so I'll just attack this guy instead. So we're just going to be using this, and as you see here, we just obliterated one opponent. Now we're going to be using another heat conversions, activate our meta magic quicken spell for us to activate another set of damage spells to our opponent. So we see here we have a spellcaster right here. We're just going to be dishing out more damage to that, and maybe dish out some damage here. Over here. So we just obliterated a set of opponents again. We will be repositioning so that we won't get hit by any enemies in the area. So we'll just try to reposition here. Now ending our turn. Now it's going to be our turn to deal out the finishing blows to our opponents. So I want to reposition myself here. Coming into the battlefield. Gonna be using heat convergence again. Gonna use scorching ray and try to obliterate this opponents here. I think this guy is dead, so I'll just finish up this one here and maybe an additional here. So done. Dead. And he's dead. It's almost dead here. Gonna be using heat convergence again. Gonna use quicken spell once again. And using the highest level of scorching ray that we can. This guy is almost dead. We're just going to be finishing that off and finishing this character. Now we can reposition whenever we want, but for this case we'll just stay as is. And finally, just finishing off this character here. So we're just going to be using like maybe a lower level here to just finish this. That's it, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you see how powerful this fire mage can be. It can really break the game and obliterate your opponents. It gets progressively powerful from the lower levels to the end game levels. Have any questions or clarifications, please comment them down below. Would love to answer any queries that you guys have. And if you guys like the video, please leave it a like. It really lets me know that you guys are enjoying my videos. I hope I earn a subscription in the future, but if I earn it today, please don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out a lot. And that's it for me. I hope to see you soon on the next MasterBok show. Peace out. Bye, guys.